All right, are we ready to get ready?
Yep. I'm ready.
So ready.
So ready. So ready. It's a good day today. This is going to be good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and mute you all. And again, if you would like to speak, just comment, and I will unmute you. And we're looking for participation today, so feel free to chime in and ask questions. So, okay. So first off, let's get started with today's agenda. Our agenda today is we're going to review any questions on last week's homework, and then we're going to review our KPIs, which is what the key performance indicators are for the listing generators, and then we're going to review making your first calls and getting prepared for that today. So we're going to jump right into getting into some action to start getting you some appointments, because the market is just waiting for you right now. So, so starting off, let's go ahead and review last week's homework. And if you have any questions on the homework, or if you had any challenges on the homework, now is your opportunity to get your questions answered. So go ahead and just type in if you have a question. I'll review what the homework was. So we completed our listing inventory calculator. We completed our contact to conversion calculator. We talked about setting up our environment for success, ordering our lead system, which we talked about was Mojo Sells, and then accessing the private Facebook listing generators group. So that was what we covered. No questions? I just unmuted you guys real quick. I'm not seeing the comment box. So if anybody commented, oh, there it is. Never mind. Okay, I got it. Now I'm muting you again. Okay, so first question. I'm just listening while doing my other assignments from our coaching. Fair enough. I appreciate that. So the goal with this week's work was, and this is why we do this first, is if we don't have a goal that we're shooting for, essentially, if you remember, by completing the listing inventory calculator, that gave us our goal that we were shooting for, which is the activities that we're doing in this group is driving us for the result that we want to achieve out of this program. If we don't have a goal, you're not going to take action. Okay, it's really simple. It's like going to the gym and the trainer saying, you know, what do you want to achieve? And you go, nothing. I'm happy with my weight. I'm happy with the way I look in the mirror. The trainer's going to be like, well, then do whatever you want to do. You know, there's no exercise that's going to move you forward to the abyss of nothingness. So we have to work backwards from what you want to achieve to get to the actions. So the contact conversion calculator, if you recall, is what helps you then convert the result that you desire to your daily activities. And then from there, we can schedule it in your calendar, which was the third part of the exercise to complete last week, was to put together your success calendar and then set up your environment for success. So this is very, very, very important to complete this if you're going to move forward with this program, because otherwise there's really no driver. if you look at in coaching or leading people, it's important to know why they're doing something and what is driving them forward to do it. So I know that some of you guys are busy and you have other things going on, and I know some people are participating for more education, yet this is an extremely important. So if you haven't completed this, please get it completed as we move forward. So then we talked about getting leads and setting up a lead system. And we talk about Mojo Sells as being the most, I would say the best place to start as far as getting a lead generation system going. Mojo Sells includes a CRM in it. It includes the ability to call or import neighborhood lists and call neighborhoods. It includes for sale by owner lists and the list of expireds that are referenced against the MLS. So you're not having to check your expired list against your MLS. It also has an auto dialer, which can go from a single line dialer to a multi-line dialer, calling 3 lines at the same time. So these are all very important tools independently, and then combined, it becomes a tool that really, really makes it an efficient way to do this business. So one of the questions is, Mojo didn't ask me to buy the CRM. I paid $99. I think the CRM is included with when you go ahead and log in, but it doesn't matter. It's part of the system. So it's just part of it when you log in. And I'll show you today, because some of the exercises we're going to go through today are going to be using the Mojo system. So I'm going to go through some of that today. And then lastly is access the private Facebook listing generators group. What do we want to use that for is when we start handling objections, and we want to do it in an area where we're not going to get haters, like there's some of those Facebook groups right now that people will post questions on there, and you always seem to have a hater that is on there commenting. So the reason that we want to use a private Facebook group versus doing posts on something that's an open group to the entire real estate community is we want to control the people that are going to be negative about what we're doing and commenting. So this will give us an environment where we can be dream protectors and not dream stealers. So, okay. So if there's no questions, additional questions on the homework, we will go ahead and get started on this week's work. So when we start talking about making the calls, this is a very important process here to prepare yourself not only in an environment, but preparing yourself mentally and physically to make these calls. Nobody that I know that has been doing this a long period of time says, I want to jump up and get on the phone every day. Most people that I know, they look at it kind of like, going to the gym. It is not something that they love to do, getting up at 4:50 in the morning and getting in your cold car and driving to the gym to work out. But their habitual behavior has set in over a period of time, and they have learned that there's more benefits in doing it than sleeping in the morning. So they've learned and adapted the new behavior long enough to get consistent results, and that has then turned into a habit. So making calls or doing the listing generator and becoming consistent with it and making this part of your business is no different. It is a lot about setting in the energy and the right attitude in order to ensure that you're going to be successful and you're going to show up again and to do it again. So one of the most important things is preparing in your calendar and setting away times that you can make calls that you're not going to be interrupted or disturbed. So this includes, things like, if you have inconsistent meetings or inconsistencies that happen at certain times of the day. For me, I have young kids. So in the afternoon, when they're out of school is an inconsistent time for me. So that would not be a good time for me to make calls. In an office environment or in hours when my kids are at school, I can control some of the things a little bit better. This is oftentimes why weekends are not the best time to make calls, because a lot of things in our culture tend to fall on the weekends. So next is to stand when you're calling. So there's multiple reasons to do this. One is to keep your energy high. When you're standing, you can bend, you can kind of do some light knee bounces. You see Kevin in his office, he has a rebounder that he bounces up and down on to keep his lymph nodes flowing and the energy moving through his body. Also, the other reason is when you're standing, your abdomen and your chest is wide open, and this allows you to fully breathe. One of the challenges people have is they have a tendency to shallow breathe when they're calling, and they tend to run out of breath. They start talking and then they run out of breath. So we don't want to prevent that. So if you're standing when you're calling, it'll help prevent that. For me, I'm much better when I'm walking and talking than when I'm sitting in behind a desk trying to focus in and make a call. It also prevents me from getting distracted. I tend not to read my emails or reply to texts or those kind of things if I'm standing. Next is smile when you're calling. If you're smiling, people can hear it over the phone. They can hear your attitude. It changes your energy. It releases endorphins. And that will actually make them respond more happy also. They'll hear your tonality and they may respond with a more positive approach. So the key to doing that is placing a small mirror in front of you on your desk. And if you see yourself frowning or, maybe you're looking a little stressed out, that will remind you to smile. The next one is having your objections and scripts in front of you. In the first webinar, I suggested getting a presentation board similar to something that you would have used if you were in elementary school or middle school and you were in charge of doing a science project. You would have one of those little presentation boards. So I suggest getting one of those, and you can put your scripts on there, your objection handlers. There's some other pieces that we're going to cover as we continue, kind of giving you tools that you'll be able to place on that board. If you don't have a presentation board, just tape them on your wall. Just put the objection handlers on your wall and have them in front of you. So before you start making calls, just review them really quickly. I'm gonna teach you to make it very, very simple. Okay, this is a very, very simple process. People love to make this process complicated, and we're gonna make it very simple so anybody can do this. I have hired people literally who were 18, 19 years old, who have never made a call before, and put them on a phone, taught them how to do this, and they've been successful at it. So literally anybody can do this if they're disciplined and they take they're patient enough to apply themselves long enough to get the results. And then lastly is just remember, this is simply a conversation. When you're talking to somebody on the phone that you don't know, they can't hurt you. They're not going to hunt you down. They're not going to come after you. The worst thing they can do is tell you, don't call me back, and hang up the phone. Always be polite. Always be courteous. No matter what they do or say to you, they're not gonna, you're still gonna go home at the end of the day, and you're still gonna have your warm bed to sleep in. So don't take that stuff home with you. One of the things I think of is when somebody's angry is I think of the quote, hurting people hurt people. And I just, maybe give them a little bit of love in your head, give them a little prayer, and wish them the best of luck with whatever they're dealing with. Okay. So next we are going to jump into setting up the Mojo account. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot my screen here, and I'm going to share with you something, if I can find it. Hold on real quick. All right. Here it is. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So on the Steps Online Resources now, if you go in there today, under listing generators, under listing generator webinar, okay, there is now this downloadable PDF of how to set up your Mojo dialer. So first off, there's a couple things that I just want to make sure. There's both this PDF in there as well as a video from Mojo on how to set it up and how to use the dialer. So there's both in there. The reason I the reason I chose to create this and put this in there is I wanted you to understand a few things about the dialer that we're going to set up a little bit differently than the way that they may ask you or teach you to set it up. Okay. So first is obviously join, right? And then you're going to log in, and then you're going to go ahead and click the settings button, which is actually right there. Okay. So you're going to click settings, and then this is going to bring you into your power dialing settings. Okay. That's what we're looking for. And you're going to go to voicemail messages. Now, here's the questions it's going to ask you as you go to set up your dialer. It's going to ask you, do you want to leave a voicemail? Now, here's one of the greatest things about using an auto dialer versus hand dialing. The biggest challenge that I find with hand dialing is I'll make 4 or 5 calls and I don't want to pick up the phone and dial it again. If I'm on an auto dialer and I'm just clicking dial the next number, I tend to get through the calls and I tend to be more consistent with it. So what does the voicemail setting mean? What the dialer will allow you to do is you can pre-record a voicemail message that when you receive a voicemail, you can click the box that says drop the voicemail, which means it will stay on the line and leave a voicemail message of your recording. And for the most part, you can't really tell that it's a machine or a pre-recorded voicemail or if it's a person. It's pretty good. It doesn't have the delays or the clicks or anything weird. It's a good system. Yet starting out, I want to be clear, starting out with this, I'm going to ask you, do not leave a voicemail, because what we want to do is we want to tag the system so we'll call it back later. Okay, we want to go back through that call later. And my experience is if you leave voicemails over and over and over again, what happens is people will recognize that your phone number is a solicitor and they won't answer the phone. So one of the things I like to do is have people call 3 times, 3 days in a row, the same number, bam, 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 3 times, 3 days in a row. After that, go ahead and leave a voicemail, okay? Oftentimes when people get the same number 3 times in a row, curiosity gets to them, and then they decide to answer the phone. Okay, now the next thing that you're gonna have to learn about is what's called callback messages. Now this is very different. Callback messages is when you're using the multi-line dialer. The multi-line dialer dials 3 numbers at the same time. If 2 people happen to answer at the same time, one person is going to get the callback message. Now, there's many people on YouTube that say all kinds of different things. They said, you know, some of them say, I'm sorry, I'm on the other line. I'll call you right back. Some of them say, please call me back. I want to talk to you about your house. Some people do this funky thing where they make it sound like the phone is breaking up and the phone got disconnected. Here's the thing. I don't agree with that technique. I think it's just very simple to say, I'm sorry I missed you. I will call you back shortly, okay? Because we are not using the multi-line dialer, this feature, we're not going to use it, so you don't need to set it up. The reason we're not going to use the multi-line dialer is that I found that there's a small delay on the multi-line dialer that doesn't occur with the single line dialer. And even though you can get through a lot more calls with a multi-line dialer, you can get through more calls faster, the actual answer rate of people you talk to goes down. And in the end result, you end up with a less conversion than you would have just using the single line dialer. Now, that's completely my observation and my opinion. But it does solve some other problems for us as far as people getting frustrated when they answer the phone and nobody's there. So I'm gonna recommend that you set it up as a single line dialer. Now let me address this really quick. If you're hand dialing the phone, people will tend to average about 15 dials to 25 dials per hour, depending on how much time they're spending researching between calls. When they're dialing single line at a time, they tend to pull up the MLS, they tend to look at comps, do all this crazy stuff, and they average about 15 dials per hour, okay? On a single line dialer, you're gonna average over 50 dials an hour. On a multi-line dialer, you can average well over 100 dials an hour, okay? So the importance of a dialer is, yes, why does everybody keep asking me if this is live? Yes, this is live. It is not recorded. You guys are funny. You're like a third person. So I must sound like a recording today. So the reason I say this is in making these calls, going back to your conversations to appointments calculator, like how many conversations do I need to set an appointment? For the most part, you're gonna be needing to have about 150 dials to talk to 30 people to set one appointment. That's a pretty typical ratio. For somebody who's actually been doing this and they're good at objection handlers, okay? If you're new at this and you haven't got your objection handlers down yet, your ratios might be 250 dials to talk to 60 to 80 people to get one appointment, okay? I want you to think about if you're averaging 15 dials an hour, it's gonna take you 10 hours of lead generation, or I'm sorry, at 250 dials, it's gonna, at 15 dials per hour, it's gonna take you 17 hours of lead generation to set one appointment if you're dialing by hand, okay? That's too inefficient, and this is why people fail at calling expireds, is they try to call 5 a day or 10 a day or even 15 a day. It's not enough. You have to call more people. The quality of the lead is in the quantity. Write that down. The quality of the lead is in the quantity of the people you talk to. I know people who have called the same 100, same 500 people 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And believe it or not, they're pulling people back out of that same list that they've peeled through over and over and over again because they finally hit the person that says they're interested. So I know the tendency is going to be to want to not use the dialer. I know people say, I don't want to use a dialer. I'll do this, but I'm not going to use a dialer. You will likely fail. You will likely fail at this if you're not on a dialer. It takes too long to make these calls by hand to get the result that you need and or expect. Okay. Lastly, so then once you get your callback message, you can set your voicemail. You can, again, we're not using callback message, so you can skip that. Then we come down here, and the next question is, what number do I use for my caller ID? Again, this is another one that tends to perplex me because I see this all the time. I saw this on a YouTube video. I was interviewing an agent a week ago who is frustrated because he can't convert his expired listings, and he does the calls, but he's not getting anything. And I asked him very simply, I said, what phone number are you using on your callback number? And he said, I use a Google Voice number that dumps into an empty voicemail. Now, the reason people do this is they're avoiding confrontation, meaning the person might be calling them back and then say to them, don't call me, and I didn't, why are you calling me? Or I'm not interested, stop calling me, right? These are common fears and common responses when you're telemarketing. It's gonna happen. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and tell you everybody is gonna be like Grandma Peaches and happy that you're calling them, okay? Yet, the reason we're calling people is to talk to them. If you set up your caller ID as a Google Voice number that dumps into a voicemail, you're missing opportunities to talk to people that have their house for sale and their house didn't sell. You're missing opportunity. In fact, I coached an agent that at one point she had somebody who would just make the initial dials, and she would be in the other room with her cell phone as the callback number, and her strength was that she could convert those people who were actually calling her back, but she didn't feel like sitting on the phone and making the initial dial, and it worked very effective for her. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. You're going to go onto your apps store. You're going to download the Mojo app from the App Store. When you enter in your caller ID on your Mojo system, you're going to use your cell phone number, okay? Now, what happens is when somebody calls back to respond to the missed call that they just received from you, the Mojo app on your cell phone will pull up the address and the contact information of the person calling you that's in the CRM. This gives you an opportunity to prepare before you answer the phone, okay? Now, I want to be clear. You need to answer the phone. If you avoid the call, you're missing an opportunity, a great opportunity to talk to somebody. Oh, we have some comments. Oh, yes, it is cool. It is cool. I agree. So, again, your number one goal when making your calls, your number one goal is to talk to people. That's your number one goal. Your number two goal is to get in front of them, okay? Number one is to talk to them. Number two is to get in front of them. And we're going to talk about this more in depth. Okay, so lastly is getting ready to dial. So when you're ready to dial, you're going to go into your power dialer. You're going to select your expired list. You're going to click dial. And what will happen is the Mojo system is going to pull up a phone number on the screen. With your phone, you're going to dial the Mojo, or you're going to dial the phone number on the screen, which is going to log you into Mojo's dialing system. you actually don't call from your phone, you're calling through the computer, and you're using the computer essentially as the telephone and CRM while you're making your calls, okay? Now, I'm not gonna get into more detail than that. There is a video on the online resources currently, I loaded it yesterday, from Mojo on how to set up your dialer and get prepared to call, okay? But this is the system that I recommend us getting started with. As I said before, there are other systems that cost a little bit more, but they all have contracts with them, meaning if you aren't committed to doing this, you're going to be paying them either way. So this is why we start with Mojo, but honestly, Mojo is a strong enough system that we can stay with this. You can build a very, very successful career just using Mojo. Okay, I'm going to drop back and pause for any questions. Great question. Great question. Is everyone getting the same list of expireds? Well, in a given marketplace, Kendall, there is only so many expireds that come out. So when you register your Mojo system, it's going to ask you what zip codes you want to pull from. So yes, essentially everybody's working off of the same group of expireds, yet you can sort it by zip code. You can sort it by price point. Some of the people that I coach, one of the things that we do to increase their price point is we do not call below certain price points. You know, I know Kevin for a long time didn't call below about 350,000. My guess is today he probably doesn't call below about 450,000. You can segregate by zip code. You can, yeah, so there's lots of ways you can modify your list. But here's the thing you need to understand is even if other people in this group are calling, there's other people in the city, in the state calling too. So no matter what, you're not the only one, okay? And there's something else that you learn when you learn about marketing, which is repetition is actually good in marketing. It's not bad. So many people think, well, I want to have the only ad in the newspaper, but it's been proven many, many times that the more ads for the same product or service actually increases the response rate for everybody involved, because it provides the consumer an idea that this is real, that this is something tangible. For example, if one car dealership advertised, you know, buy a car, get one free, you probably wouldn't believe it. But if 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of them started advertising that, over time you would believe it. And expired listings is kind of the same way. When you're calling somebody, the first person they talk to, they're usually pretty nice about it. And they say, yeah, you know, I'm not really interested. And they'll kind of give you one of the common objections, which we're going to go through here in a minute. And then the next person calls and they're nice. And then they get pretty grumpy, right? As they've been talking to quite a few people. But then what happens is they get to a point where they need to find a solution because they want the calls to stop. They do want to sell their house. They are getting frustrated. And then the next person that calls, they go, well, you sound nice. I'll meet with you. Okay. Now that could be the first person. That could be the 5th person. That could be the 25th person. But if you don't call, it won't be you. I know that. It won't be you. Okay. So next, we are going to move into talking about the most common objections. Remember, I told you this is a very, very simple process. Okay, very simple process. And if we can make it difficult, we can make up in our head that there's all these different objections that are coming out, and this person's unique, and this person's different, and their situation's different. It's not true. It's not true. The truth is that they had their home on the market for some reason. Now, either that motivation has changed and they no longer want to sell it, okay? Or they're going to sell it either immediately or in the near future. And all we're going to do is get to the bottom of two things. One, are they truly interested in selling it if they have the ability to? And two, can we interview? That's really it. That's the two questions we're trying to get through on the phone. We're not going to talk to them on the phone about price. We're not going to talk to them on the phone about what type of marketing that we do. We're not going to talk to them on the phone about what our commission income is or what we're going to charge them for commission. Okay? Because what ends up happening is you'll end up getting into a conversation that you can't win. You can't talk commission in the absence of value, right? If somebody says, hey, I have a 2005 Toyota Camry for sale, okay? And you say, how much is it? And they say, it's $5,000. You don't know if that's a good deal or not because you haven't seen it. You haven't driven it. You don't know if it's clean. You don't know if it's been wrecked. You don't know anything about it, so you cannot apply value to it, okay? So when we can't apply value to something, we go low. We go to the lowest value that we can think of. And expired listings are exactly the same way. If you get on the phone with them and they say, well, what commission do you charge? And you answer that question, it doesn't matter if you say $1, it is higher than what they're thinking because they haven't seen you. They haven't seen your presentation. They don't know what you're going to do to get their home sold. They know none of these things about you. So in the absence of value, price is always too high, okay? So the number one goal when you're on the phone with them is to get in front of them, okay? Do not pre-qualify them over the phone. Do not be hounding them about their price. I saw somebody the other day arguing with somebody over the phone over that their listing is priced too high and that the other agent priced it too high. You don't know that if you haven't seen the house. That should be malpractice. Anybody saying what the value of a property is over the phone without seeing it. Absolute malpractice. You don't know until you've seen the house. Get your butt out of the office and go look at the house, okay? Don't argue with them over the phone. So we're going to teach you how to take those objections. What is your commission? What type of marketing do you do? What would you price this house for? What would you do to my house if you were my agent to get it ready for sale? We're going to take those 4 objections and we're going to turn those into your opportunity to close on those listings, okay? That's going to give you your opportunity to go meet with them, all right? So now let's get into the objections. Hold on, I got to switch screens again. Okay, now most importantly, again, this is all on the Listing Generators website right next to the video. So when you go in there, you'll see the video for Mojo. Right next to it is all the scripts that we're going through today. So you have those in front of you. So here are the 3 most common and arguably only objections you will get from somebody, okay? Now, many of them will come in different forms, but yet they are the same objection, just wrapped up in a different form. So number 1, I see your home's expired. What are you planning on doing with it? you know what, is we are going to list it with the same agent that had it before. Now, this is very important when you use this script to be empathetic. Remember, this is just a conversation, okay? It's like, think about it like you're talking to somebody you care about, like your best friend or your grandma or something. Like, you got to be empathetic here. And you go, gosh, I understand what you're saying. Can I ask? I mean, did they give it 100% the first time? And if they did, wouldn't it have sold? What are they going to do this time that they didn't do last time? I respect that you're loyal and you want to give them another chance. But why don't we do this? I'll come visit the property. I'll meet you and I'll show you what I do to get homes sold. And maybe something that I share with you will help you get your home sold, even if you decide to list with the same agent again. Do you believe a new or unique marketing plan would actually help you get your chance of getting your home sold? Okay, very simple. It's a conversation. Now, obviously, they're responding and we're having a conversation and I'm trickling this in, but I'm leading them through the path as I'm trickling it in. Okay, this script I call the gift. Okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to share with them something that they can use. We're going to give them something that they can use, even if they decide not to list their home with us. Okay, it's the gift. All right, so that's what we're going to use when they say, I'm going to stay with the same agent. Objection number 2, I've already selected another agent. They say, no, I appreciate you calling, but you know what, we've already selected another agent. Or, you know what, we're going to use my cousin or my sister or my friend, okay? Now, on this one, it's important to ask them, have you already signed the listing agreement with them? Okay, have you already signed the listing agreement? No, they're coming out Friday. Let me ask you this. If you were going to get surgery, you get a second opinion, right? I mean, let's be honest. This isn't surgery, but it could be financial surgery if you get this wrong. Let's do this. I'll come out, visit the property. I'll show you what I do to get homes sold. I'll share with you something that you can use, even if you decide to work with the other agent. Same closing. Give them the gift, the freebie, the free opportunity, okay? That's the key is they're getting something for free for just meeting with you. Now, I know what your question is. What do I give them? That's going to be different based on when you get there and you're doing the needs analysis with them and you're having a conversation with them in depth about what they believe is the reason their home's not selling, okay? And we're going to teach this when we talk about appointments. Right now, though, I need to just make sure you stay focused on setting the appointment. I don't want to get into all the different variations that this can go through because that is part of the appointment. That's not part of the setting the appointment, okay? We're just focused on setting the appointment right now. Okay, and then the last one, the third script that you get, or the third objection you get is we decide to take it off the market, right? Or we're gonna wait till the market's better, okay? Or we decided to rent it, okay? This is all the same objection. And what we have to do here is we've got to get to motivation. We got to get inside of them and find out, are they still interested in getting this home sold? Are they still motivated, or did the motivation change, okay? Did the motivation change? So here's the difference. Somebody who says, we put our house on the market because we thought we were moving to Boston, and it turns out I didn't get the job in Boston, so we're not selling, okay? The motivation changed. You're probably not going to have a lot of luck. Now, not to say that's not possible, but you're not going to have a lot of luck overcoming that objection unless they truly just want to upgrade or downgrade within the same market. Or if they are still looking for a job outside of the state, okay? But you're not going to most likely overcome that objection. Yet, if somebody says, I had my house on the market and it didn't sell, and the market is bad, and that's why my agent said the market that the house didn't sell, then you can go back to this script, because now we're like, oh, okay, this is there's some urgency here. There's still some intention that they want to sell. They just think the market's bad, right? So then now you've got to get to motivation. So I understand if I brought you an offer today, would you look at it? Now, this is the crazy part. They respond no. They respond no because they know that you're asking them a question to move them down a path to close on them. They know what we're doing here, okay? So they're going to say no. Now, don't give up right there. It's an instinctual response. Like when you walk into, Best Buy and they ask you, can I help you find anything today? And you say no, and then you're wandering around for 20 minutes trying to find the stupid thing that the guy could have walked you right over to, right? It's their instinctual response, okay? So we're going to restate the question, okay? They're going to give us no. We're going to restate the question. You mean to tell me if I brought you a full price offer today, you wouldn't even look at it? Now, they'll respond one of two ways. They'll say, yeah, I'd probably look at it. Or, do you have a buyer? That's what they'll say. Do you have a buyer? So, my marketing is always driving buyers. That's part of what we do as real estate agents. In fact, I have a database of active buyers that are looking for homes. You know how in every one of our team meetings we do buyers looking for? This is one of the reasons, right? We have an active database of buyers looking for homes. I have lots of agents in my office that have buyers that are looking for homes. Inventory is at an all-time low. Let's do this. Let me come out to see the property and see if the features of the property match the features of any of my buyers, okay? And then if they do, then I'll bring the buyer out. Are you available this afternoon for me to come see the property? It'll take about 20 minutes, say about 4 o'clock, okay? That's it. That is the entire objection handler. Okay, I'm going to pause there. Any questions? No questions? Amazing. Either I'm doing a great job explaining this or you guys are all watching Dr. Phil. Just kidding. Okay, so now let's do the intro script, okay? These are your objection handlers. And then we're going to run through the intro script. The intro script is super hard. It's the hardest intro script ever, okay? Here we go. Well, I got to move some stuff around so I can read it. Okay. We're going to call the number. Our first thing is we're going to lead in, hello. The reason I'm calling today is find out is your home still for sale. Notice we don't say, hello, this is Sean Modry with Steps Real Estate. I was calling because I want to find out if you want to list your home with me, okay? Do not identify yourself right away, and do not identify that you're affiliated with a real estate company right away. The reason is the house just expired. They're probably a little pissed off that their house just expired. And they're probably a little frustrated with real estate agents. So this first line, okay, we want them to be inquisitive and think we may be a potential buyer, and they may have a lead of somebody who wants to buy their house. It holds them on the phone, and it allows us to get them to respond without hanging up. Because when you do a lot of these calls, if you lead with, hi, this is Sean with Steps Real Estate, you're going to hear click, okay? That's what you're going to hear. And we want to get past click. Hello, the reason I'm calling today is to find out is your home still for sale. The person says, Either yes, it's still for sale, no, it's sold and closed, okay, and your information didn't get updated, whatever, or why do you ask? Okay, now we will identify ourselves, okay? The reason I ask is because your home has showed up on the multiple listing service. Do not say MLS. They do not know what that is. Has shown up on the multiple listing service as an expired listing. This means that your home is no longer actively for sale. Now, I'm a real estate agent in the area, and I specialize with homes that don't sell the first time. And even some of the best homes don't sell the first time. I'm calling to set a meeting with you to show you how I get houses sold. Are you available for 20 minutes? Okay. And today at 4 o'clock. Now, most likely before you get through this entire script right here, they're going to respond. Okay. They're going to have dialogue in here. This means your home is no longer for sale. They're probably going to respond right there, right away. They're going to tell you why their home's not for sale. And then you get into, I'm a real estate agent in the area. I specialize with homes that didn't sell the first time. Even some of the best homes don't sell the first time. They're probably going to give you an objection right there, right? Like, I already have a real estate agent that I like. I've already picked another real estate agent. That's where that's going to come out. So here's what I want you to think of. We are teeing up the objections. Okay, we're setting our script up to give us the objection, and we already have the handler for it. So it's like playing baseball, but we have the baseball tethered to a string so we can control it. Okay, so we're not coming into this, and getting shot at like randomly. We're setting it up so we can have these softballs thrown at us and we can hit them out of the park. Okay, so we're setting up the objections. They're going to say, possibly, this house isn't for sale. We're going to ask some deeper questions. Did you find a replacement home? No, we didn't. We decided not to sell. Bam, close with your objection handler, right? Though that's our intro script. That is the entire intro script, okay? Right there. We don't change it. We don't tweak it. We just stay with it. Okay, I'm going to pause again. Any questions on the intro script? Go ahead and comment, and I'll unmute you. Okay, so these scripts, as I said before, as well as the videos for the scripts, are on the Steps Online resources under the listing generators. Okay, so now we're going to go quickly through the goals for this week. Our goals for this week are going to be very simple. We want to set up our mojo. Okay, we want to set up our mojo. See the setup video to do that. I want you to prepare to make calls, meaning get your headspace on, get it in your calendar. Please do the calculator so you know why you're making the calls and why it's important for you to make the number of calls you need to make, okay? If you don't do the work, guys, if you don't do the homework, it's not going to get you there, okay? You're not going to achieve the success if you don't do the homework. It's kind of like somebody says, oh yeah, I know real estate. My dad was a real estate agent. You don't know real estate because your dad's a real estate agent. Your dad knows real estate because he did the work, right? You hear that from your customers. So if you're not doing the work, you're not going to learn this stuff, okay? So you've got to take the time to do the work. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to make at least 10 dials using the dialer. The only reason I want you to get through this week is to know that you know how to set the dialer up and get the dialer going. I don't have any expectations right now for you to be making if you've never made any calls, I don't have any expectations for you to make 100 calls this week. I do have an expectation of you getting your dialer set up, getting your environment set up, getting prepared to make calls, and making 10 calls using the dialer. Now, how are we going to track this and use accountability? We have created a Google Drive tracker for you to go into. Here's the link right here. And you're gonna go in and you're gonna log each week the number of dials that you made, okay? Now, as we progress through the webinar, as we go through the accountability, the metrics are going to change, meaning the expectation of calls, as well as the way that we're going to start tracking is going to go from the number of actions you take to the number of results that you're going to get as you learn to control your results, okay? So, and do not forget that we still have the Listing Generator private Facebook group. If you're having any challenges, I really want you guys to support each other and lean on each other in this, okay? Now, lastly, as I promised that I would spend a little bit of time on mindset, I went over a bit today, but one of the things that I want you to do with your mindset this week is consider the hero's journey. So the hero's journey is, of course, the story of the hero and how the hero has to progress through life. And, you know, the hero lives in comfort, right? His life is fine. It's life as usual until something happens. He's exposed to a new truth and he doesn't believe the truth at all. And he moves back to comfort, okay? And he stays in comfort until he either has something happen that is changing his life or takes away his scenario, or the desire to change is so great that he chooses to seek out guidance, okay? And that's what we're doing today, is we are seeking out guidance, all right? And we're gonna go into the world of the unknown, and this is the world of the unknown down below, and this is what you're doing. If you have never made calls before, you're entering the unknown, and our first thing our hero does entering the unknown is they reject the ideas. They say, I don't believe this. I don't think this is for me. I'm not going to try this. I'm not going to do the homework, okay? And then the hero fails to grow. The hero doesn't grow from that. And the hero then moves all the way back to comfort, okay? Now, in order for the hero to continue to move, the hero has to choose to accept the ideas and believe that this is the right thing for the hero to do, that to believe that the hero has the ability to do this, that the hero has it within them, right? And trust me, you can do this. You all can do this. This is not something that somebody's individually gifted at. Nobody was born with a telephone in their hand, okay? So everybody has the ability to learn this. And when the hero accepts the idea, they move into the land of the uncomfortable, okay? And this is where we have to adapt the behaviors. The hero has to get into action because the new beliefs are driving him forward, and that's gonna then expose him to a new reality. Now, what happens when the hero tries? The hero fails, okay? The hero fails at it and gives up. So what happens when the hero fails? The hero falls all the way back to comfort. Until the hero decides to try again, okay? And once the hero tries again, then the hero wins, achieves the desired result, and enters the new reality and truly becomes somebody new, okay? And that is the journey that we're going to go through with you, is each of you, if you've never done this before, you're going to have to transform yourself from comfort to the unknown, from the unknown to the uncomfortable, in order for you to seek a new reality where generating business this way is not a challenge for you.